What up, y'all? This is for those of you who may not know me or maybe are getting to know me or just new in my world. My name is Odilia Underwood, and I'm a board-certified nurse, coach, and cannabis nurse educator. I am also I have over 12 years of nursing experience in things like oncology, so cancer patients, geriatrics, long-term care, long-term acute care, like very, very sick people, and also in gastroenterology. I've done case management, I've managed clinics, I've managed nurses, I've also worked in community health, and I am bilingual. I'm also a United States Air Force veteran, and I am a rated disabled veteran. I am also a lupus patient, lupus warrior, who has managed to get off of all of my medications. I was on 12 or more. 12 I was for sure taking daily, and then amongst other medications that I would take every now and then for the series of symptoms I would have. I just wanted to get on here and share what I use as my medicine. So I joined a wonderful group for people who have, for women or men, people who have autoimmune disorders, and that is in my nurse coach friend Vicky's she's an autoimmune holistic nurse coach, and so a community member asked me if I used cannabis for pain, and I said yes. I said I use cannabis every day, and I will say my, plant medicine, my community, my food, nature is my medicine. I try not to take pharmaceuticals. I won't say I don't ever take them. To share a little bit, I have shared this with a few people. If people ask me how I'm doing, I try to be as honest as possible, in a sense where, there's a reason why that person is asking you how you're doing. I think that's something, but also thinking of, it's, telling people, hey, you know what, like, I was just in the ER and I totally had a flare-up, and I'm still recovering from my flare-up. Although I'm not at 100%. I don't really think that at this point, it's hard. I think, like, I don't know if my gut's ever going to be the same again. If anything, it will be better and better. And that's all I can ask for, is that it continuously get better. But ultimately, that flare-up triggered something that I need to change. And not only is it something I possibly need to change some physically, it's probably trapped, trauma in there. And for sure, anxiety is huge with me. I have severe anxiety. For those of you who don't know, I feel like I do a really good job at pushing it down. And I did that for many, many years as, like the strong sister, or growing up with my sister, my one sister at home. Like, she was I love her to death. She's very emotional, and she gets really excited about things, and that's if they're scary or whatever the case may be. And I honor that, because when we were kids, like, I remember cutting off the my left heel on the spoke of a bike, and like, we were in the street, and all I know is I feel this warm blood dripping down my foot, because obviously I was barefoot, and she freaked out. Like, I looked down and I didn't feel it. I just felt warm dripping down my toe, and I didn't feel the pain. So she felt it for me, I think. And I think, honestly, that's what she's there for in my life, to help me feel the pain, to be more human. I feel like I say this to some people. I don't think I've ever said it out loud on social media, but I think all of us are somewhat on the spectrum, and I think society is dismissive of some people who are on the spectrum because of their looks. You know, I will say that I think I'm a very pretty person, and I think because I'm very pretty, people are very accepting of my odd behavior, and I ask so many questions constantly. Even when I was little, I still do it. Sometimes it's off-putting to strangers because I don't really understand that social interaction. Like, I think I've learned, it's a learned behavior for me to go in a room and feel what I feel, or put like a mask on for my patients. I don't know. Either way, I have a hard time with what people are saying sometimes, and I don't feel that energy. So I've had this since I can remember. Like, if it doesn't, and I would say just recently in my spiritual journey, have I recognized that means something versus this is just what I've been experiencing my entire life. So I will say that I do find myself being very socially awkward. But I think more and more as we are becoming accepting of other people, and you know, I think we are starting to accept awkwardness. And I have a really hard time, like I said, associating what people are saying and the vibe they're putting out. If it doesn't match, it throws me off completely. But I'm getting better at recognizing that as part of my intuition, telling me something, good or, it doesn't have to be bad. It can be good and, good, or just a message like, hey, I'm trying to tell you something about this person. Pay attention. What is it? And like I said, it's not always bad. It could be that I recognize something, I meant to say it, and in those moments, I didn't really know what to do with all of that until I learned how to. If that whole long rant to say, I feel like we're all on the spectrum, and I feel like maybe I have always been on the spectrum since I was little, and I have been able to cope well. One, because I'm an actor. Like, I feel like I've been acting my entire life for school. As a brown person, don't speak Spanish, and you act, right? Like, you put on a show for people, like, so I feel like I've been doing that my entire life. And as a nurse, I feel like I had to put on a show. As a mom, we fucking put on a show every motherfucking day, right? Like, we don't want to scare fucking kids. Veteran with PTSD, night terrors. I hated waking up my child to shaking me and trying to wake me up because I'm screaming and frozen at the same time. Like, I didn't want that for him. I don't ever want my kid to know. I never really wanted him to know when I was struggling. But they know. But that definitely was another reason for me to choose cannabis that I don't really speak on very much, is that I have PTSD from military sexual trauma, and also I was abused as a child, sexually molested by a family member. And I always feel like I'm healed from that. Like, I've let that go. Things have happened. I'm like grateful for who I am right now. Like, I can't go back and change what happened. And because of my trauma brain, I don't remember a lot of my past. I don't remember a lot of my childhood, because that is the way I survived, was by blocking it out. I feel like that was my endocannabinoid system regulating itself to say, bitch, you gotta live. Like, you can't be dealing with this, whatever this is, because we didn't know what it was, right? I was innocent. I was little. My exposure to that thing that I ultimately may have enjoyed, and that is what I struggled with a lot, is that I think I forgot all of those things because ultimately I was hanging out with a family member who I loved very much, and I looked up to them, and they did things with me that I loved, like reading. I remember reading a lot with this individual, and I think I looked forward to it as a kid, and that's really fucked up. And then I will say that really didn't come into realization for me until recently. I like within the past like 3 years or so, that I realized, if that person is a father or a mother or someone you are, that you're supposed to trust and love, and your life depends on them in some form or fashion, like that's the love, and I think a lot of us have really fucked up trauma trapped in our bodies and in our minds, and this is why a lot of people self-medicate to not have to deal with that sort of thing. And I think it has a lot to do with because our brains have tried to suppress it, and either like it suppresses it, you suppress it, or your brain suppresses it for you to keep you going. And somehow I am very grateful to the fact that I suppressed all of those things, and they do come up like in my dreams. But like I said, ultimately this was about my night terrors and having PTSD. That cannabis really helped me sleep through the night, and if not through the night, I just don't remember my dreams very often, because I use high dose THC, and that is what is good for suppressing, well, not really suppressing your dreams. You don't remember them. Like I can go throughout my day and have like a glimpse of like, I think I dreamed, I had that was a dream, that I dreamt that last night, like it will come to me throughout the day. And so I will say I'm grateful for cannabis to help me be, like not to say like a good mom, but to help me so my son didn't have to deal with that, like my kid should not have to worry about his mom. And I know this happens a lot, and there are kids out there, many of us, and children who take care of their family members, like they are their primary caregivers. And that was another thing that really pushed me to find a different avenue, because my child is not meant to care for me. My child is not meant to take care of me. I am meant to take care of my child. Now, my son is the best thing in this world to me. I love him so much. I mean, if he showed up at my door and said, "Mom, we gotta bury this body," I bet, son, 100, that person must have been like doing something. That's how much I love my kid. No questions asked. I don't give a fuck. He is like, I am his ride or die. I am here for him. And, but I 100% believe that is how amazing of a human being my child is. He makes me a better person. He has made me grow in ways that I didn't think I could grow. Patience, and yeah, patience. Like I feel like I have a lot of patience for people in general. And I can, like, you get used to the noise, you get used to the call lights, you get used to nurse, right? You learn how to avoid, right? But you also learn a whole lot of patience. So patience. Like, that is something I'm very grateful for him, like, growing in me. Like, I want him to do good. I remember, and I'm all over the place now because now I'm just reminiscing. He did Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, and we were at like a eating, I don't know, like a something where we're all eating and we're in line getting our food, and most people get their kids' plates and stuff like that, but I didn't do that. Noah had to get his own plate because he did it at school, you know, at he did it at UNO Child Care Center. So when he was really little, at a child care center at the university I went to, they had to serve themselves. So I took that with him, like, hey, you gotta serve your food, and you know, they're little humans, right? It's hard for them, but they're trying and they're doing it, and then they get better at it. Like, we gotta let our kids do shit. We gotta let our kids learn stuff. Their brains are so pliable. They're like sponges. We do not give them what's the word I'm looking for? We don't give them the benefit of the doubt of how amazing our brains are when we're younger, and how we can learn. You know, we gotta just make it fun. Like, kids can learn multiple languages when they're young. You know, we just gotta put that effort in there. Yeah, and then talking life into our children, into any child, you know, like speaking life into them. I mean, some of them have probably seen a lot of life that we haven't seen, and maybe they're already hardened, but like, speak life into that kid, because their brains, you know, are pretty pliable, and you could change their life forever. And they, like I said, sponges, right? We just don't value our children. I don't believe, we don't value our educational. I don't even want to go on another rant. Okay, so I'm trying to keep this between 20 minutes, what my medicine is. But ultimately, this is really, really good too. I haven't really shared my issues with PTSD that I have dealt with. And so for those of you who are out there suffering from nightmares, night terrors, sleep paralysis, I will say that once I was able to sleep peacefully, soundly, I did start looking into trying to remember my dreams again, and lucid dreaming, because I do lucid dream. I love to lucid dream. Because I never really managed to, well, I mean, in my night terrors, I knew I was dreaming, but I could not. It's like I had paralysis. I think only one time did I was able to speak to, and it took so much power. I can't even explain it to you. If you've ever been able to lucid dream and know you're dreaming, but for whatever reason, like, something was fighting me from being able to, like, this is a dream. You can control her, and, you know, she can fight back. So that was very powerful. I was able to do that in a lucid dream, and I was able to tell my abuser to leave me the fuck alone. Like, I'm done with you, and be gone. So that was very powerful. And since then, I've learned that we are all capable of doing that, calling in our, you know, inner child, you know, our broken heart, and healing it and speaking to it. So yeah, I'm gonna end on that. Cannabis is awesome, and my son is amazing. I'm a veteran. I have PTSD. I have lupus, and I use cannabis for not just my pain. Cannabis isn't the only thing I use for pain. My medicine is my people, my spirituality, my food, and my son, you know, love, nature. Thanks for listening. I can't wait to get on here and ramble again. Let's see how many of you like it. Love you guys. Take care. Be blessed.